You're expecting the final boss. And along comes a goblin who blows everything away with a single blow. An irritated guy with fiery eyes informs them, the top-level dungeon master in front of them. A group of heroes engage in battle with Sebarumus, a level 67 red dragon without wings. The beast is about to cast a powerful fire spell. Magicka and the bearded warrior prepare, defense in question. Shock frozen on the fighter's face. He realizes that it will be difficult to survive. A green goblin rushes across the blazing ground, straight into the jaws of death. Sebarumus caves in a blow, but in front of him stands this goblin. The goblin is shining with joy, holding something in his hand, and everyone around him is in a stupor. What is he doing here? A bright flash of light. The battlefield is blinded by magical energy. Wings grow out of the goblin. He soars into the sky, blazing with power. With a battle cry, he delivers a devastating blow, and everything around him shudders. The blow is insanely crushing. The guy with golden hair, the red-haired girl, and the knight are stunned. The goblin has destroyed the dragon. The body of Sebarumus burns in flames. Someone wonders aloud, did he kill him with one blow? An elderly warrior in armor points up the hill. Someone is standing at the top. A guy with fangs and a predatory grin appears in close-up, the one they've been waiting for. He walks down the hill, watching the fight where his goblin is involved. Our hero in a construction helmet carries a sack and is puzzled as to where to put it. He puts it down carefully. A young man drinks water from a bottle, sadly calling himself a weakling in the initial dungeon. He sits on the floor. A goblin will remain a goblin no matter how much he is beaten. The man hesitates upon hearing the name Mr. Cha. They say he took up the hidden class and made a fortune. In the game Heaven's Door, a knight battles a giant snake. Technology has come so far that even gaming devices cost as much as a car. A man lies in a gaming pod enjoying the process and notes that even poor people like him can play thanks to internet cafes. Real money began to creep into the game. In-game items began to have value. Heaven's Door now functions as in-game currency. The same guy ponders this. He was caught in a predicament. He was tied to a wooden circle. A guy uses the rock strike ability while mining ore. The system reports that he got 3 pieces. He complains that the work of an ore miner is monotonous and tedious, and the debts have gone nowhere. The young man is upset, for his life is not at all like a fairy tale adventure. Suddenly he finds a crystal, realizing it is a rare healing artifact. He is thrilled with the value of the find and can't contain his laughter. A woman with long gray hair watches the guy absorb the crystal with relish. A guy notices her and admiringly assesses her appearance. The woman in red and her male companion stand next to her. She says the guy mines a lot of ore, which means he has good skills. He wonders what's going on. The group finds themselves trapped in a dungeon because of a huge boulder. They hope a miner will help them get out. The woman offers help and promises protection from monsters if he destroys the stone. The man in the group adds that there is more ore to be mined. 2 men get into an argument. One, who looks like a dwarf, argues that not all dwarves are born miners. The second, tougher man, insists that this is what they should be doing. Guy lowers his head and covers his face with his hand, immersed in thought. He thinks that joining the group will give him a chance to gain valuable resources and combat experience. But deep inside, he worries for his life, because even with the possibility of rebirth, it's still a risk. There is something within this game that is unsettling to him. A man's hand in a brown glove holds a woman's palm. The woman kisses him. The guy is confused at first, but then accepts what is happening. He's in shock himself at what he just said. A pack of wolves with level 7 appears. A young man finds himself surrounded by predators and realizes that his power is inferior. He calls out desperately for his mother when a giant gray wolf lunges at him. A woman with white hair and wearing a red dress shouts loudly, "Don't move!" Guy activates the Flame of the Salamander ability, dealing consecutive hits for 2748, 2855, 2976, and 2765 damage. A level 39 mage named Catherine Lee, worriedly wondering if he was injured. He expresses his gratitude for the support, marveling at its remarkable power. The woman asks the guy not to leave her, as it could be dangerous. The young man thinks this is the beginning of the very romantic relationship he has always dreamed of. A man in blue fights a gray wolf. Guy uses the giant pendulum ability, dealing 1500 and 1560 damage. The man explains that they are exploring a suspicious ore, neglecting mining skills due to limited choices. A stranger approaches the guy asking for help. That one doesn't understand what was meant by people like you. He is annoyed. Is he considered a fool if he is doing a great job of mining ore? The guy demonstrates fighting skills using a pickaxe as a weapon. The young man smashes the stone block with a powerful swing. The brown-haired man doubts the information he has received, while his red-bearded partner claims that the losses will be enormous if the ore is scarce. The brown-haired man threateningly states that he will demand compensation for his time. A jaded guy complains about having to labor in this disgusting place. Annoyed, he says it's just another boring day for him. The young man continues to crush rocks. The group, including a guy, a woman with white hair, a man in blue, and a fat guy, finds something unexpected. The writing on the wall reads, "To this is..." The young man stares in shock at the giant gate hidden in the cave. A thought flickers inside. A hidden dungeon? The man with the red hair is amazed. It can't be. We've discovered a hidden dungeon? A fat man in a Viking helmet ponders the possible rewards and class change that a dungeon can provide. A woman with white hair and scarlet eyes clarifies with a sly grin. We? A young man enters a duel with a red-haired guy full of determination. The thought voices out, "Now I can change lives like Mr. Che." The following message appears on the screen. PK mode activated. The guy screams with exertion, a bright glow bursting out of his head. A young man lies on the ground, breathing heavily. A 480 is displayed nearby. He groans, "Fuck! I can't breathe!" The white-haired woman said that it was only possible to find this dungeon with the mining skill. The guy explains that he just joined the group and the others were fighting. He asks why he was attacked and calls them cowards, since they knew about the dungeon from the beginning. The man with the brown hair admits that of course they knew and didn't want to waste time. But since the young man helped a little, the process was accelerated. The guy's coming off the high ground, his face contorted in pain. Lying on the ground, he wonders if he is still inside the dungeon. It surprises him that he hasn't been finished off. Perhaps the enemies still have a conscience. A notice appears about the crystal that allowed him to be reborn. He realizes that he has died and been resurrected, and in doing so, he has received 300,000. In a rage, he remembers those who betrayed him. The guy is screaming in anger over the lost money. He notices that the passage to the hidden area of the dungeon is still open and unfinished. The young man decides to stay despite the loss of the crystal and is determined to destroy the plans of the traitors. He swears he'll get even with those who look down on him. The guy declares, "I'm gonna be your worst nightmare." He falls inside the hidden dungeon, uttering, "Wait here." The young man continues his descent into pitch blackness. He scrambles down the stairs, shouting, "Shit, the stairs!" The guy crashes to the floor with a clatter, taking 80 damage. Thought, "Ladder right next to the entrance?" Zkimchusa's HP 20 lies on the floor thinking, "Did I really walk in? This is the hidden dungeon." Inside the Goblin's sanctuary, a giant goblin sits on a throne. The man is shocked. It's huge. What kind of goblin is sitting on the throne? Then it pops into his mind. But Goblin Sanctuary? He ponders, "Is this really where all the horrors happen?" Then adds doubtfully, "The hidden dungeon must be much more difficult. Is this really all for the entry level? How boring." The young man notices that it has gotten too quiet and wonders where everyone has disappeared to. Someone's hand grabs the leg of a passerby. The young man wondered, "What is this?" He strikes the dwarf, who falls down screaming. The guy looks at the defeated gnome in shock and thinks, "That gnome from the beginning? What the hell?" Despair is written on the large dwarf's face. A message from the Suprema Dwarf pops up. "Can you use the resurrection skill?" The gnome replies, "There is no such ability." Guy ponders. He keeps hitting the revive button so he doesn't miss the hidden dungeon? What a greedy bastard! A gnome lies motionless next to him. A message appears on the screen in red. "Warning, this is a high-level dungeon far beyond your strength. It is recommended that you leave the area immediately." The guy's face contorted with fear, he squeals in panic. Seeing the warning, the young man is stunned and says he recognizes the voice. A giant hand holds him like a toy. A woman is lying on the floor. Underneath her is the caption, "Isn't this the Goblin's altar?" The young man stares in horror at a huge creature with scarlet skin and an outstretched neck holding a strange object. He can't understand what is in front of him. The guy's eyes filled with terror. A level 80 monster grabs him, plunging him into panic. The monster clutches the young man with force, blood spurting from his body. He hides his face in his palms. realizing that the worst-case scenario has become reality. Then adds, "There used to be a lot of games striving for realism. But now things have gone too far. Even the sensation of pain has become real, although defense systems are provided so that the damage from weak monsters is muted. However, a woman with white hair panics and calls for help, begging to be saved. Guy swears, wanting to save her, but doesn't understand how to fight such a monster. The brain is shown with current discharges. The text reads, "Pain and trauma do not disappear even after resurrection. They directly affect the brain. In severe cases, coma or death is possible." The young man runs away, stating that he won't let the monster break him, adds that it's like a shock pension. As he runs, he says he's been abandoned and it's not his fault. As he continues to flee, he recognizes that he is weak and worthless. Through a contorted face, he keeps saying that he must survive alone. The Goblin Lord feels a spiritual connection with him. They share weakness and fear. The guy is shocked to recognize the very same Goblin Lord. He stands in front of the giant image and ponders if he is really as weak and cowardly as he is. In anger, he asks if anyone thinks he wants to be like that. A woman with gray hair lies there exhausted and admits, if she had any strength at all, she wouldn't have escaped. She faints under some effect. The guy, tired of everything, says he just wanted a regular job where no one looks down on him. He goes into battle with the monsters, recognizing that he wanted to fight, not do ore like the others. With tears in his eyes, he says that due to parental debts, he was unable to choose the path he wanted and wonders why he is considered weak. Standing there, he asks who gave him the right to be judged from the top down. In reality, he looked down on the game, but now he was a target himself. In anger, he declares that he's a goblin, and he doesn't care. The system informs, the guy has become an honorary goblin, and now goblins will support him. A suggestion to change class to goblin summoner appears. He, not holding back tears, wonders if this is a hidden class. In desperation, she screams her refusal to give it up. But the system completes the class change to goblin, despite his protests. A huge monster appears in front of him, emitting a frightening roar. The guy realizes there's no turning back, and hopelessness creeps in. Ability description: summons a goblin who fights on the host's side. The guy casts the spell without any effects. A goblin materializes in front of him with a squeal of "K!" He notices that the goblin looks pathetic and decides to use it as a distraction to escape. The guy points his hand in the distance. He orders the goblin to attack, and the goblin rushes into action with a cry of "Key!" A monster that makes a shurororo sound appears. The guy prepares to flee, deciding it's time to save himself. The goblin enters the fray, confusedly saying, "Ah?" The young man is caught off guard by the monster's attack, utters, "Huh?" A notification of a dramatic experience boost appears on the screen, which shocks the guy. A message appears, "You have gained new skills. Feed the goblin, walk with the goblin." A green goblin recruit is shown, his experience growing rapidly. The goblin yells, "Kai!" and the experience notifications keep pouring in. The man cries out in amazement, "Holy shit, that pathetic-looking goblin." Trailing off, he adds, "What? Maxed out already?" The girl found herself in the clutches of a huge pink monster with many tentacles. A tentacle grabs her and blood spurts from her body. The white-haired girl screams in terror, her eyes widened with fear. A girl with white hair while wearing a VR helmet screams in panic. A man in a business suit tries to bring her to consciousness. She is lying on a medical couch with a blue glow emanating from it. He holds a device in his hand that emits a cold bluish light. The same man wearing glasses looks at the device with rage and tears in his eyes, not believing what is happening. A woman with pale skin, scarlet eyes, and long white hair is crying. An inner voice says, "This is a blow from which she will not recover. Care." A green goblin launches a crushing attack, flashes around it, and the numbers 999999. A notification appears on the screen. Level updated. The goblin continues the fight, with the repeating numbers 999999 flashing around him, and a notification appears 3 times. Level updated. In a furious attack, he is surrounded by red flashes. The screen reappears. Level up! The boy collects the crystals, mentally asking the goblin for a respite. It is pointed out that they are mana stones of low-ranked creatures. A young man is piled up on a mountain of rocks. Information displayed, Skim Cholsu's class, Goblin Summoner, level 31 and other parameters. With a serious face, the guy remembers that he passed the hidden zone the moment he caught Geiger, but everyone protecting him died. He thinks that now he has no choice but to die. The goblin watches him, amazed that the guy went through the dungeon alone and didn't raise a single level, while the goblin himself reached 31. The young man finds a summoned goblin, but there is no information about the creature. He doubts whether such a weak monster is capable of anything. In anger, the guy decides that if it's a bug, he needs to exploit it before it's fixed. He intends to become a better player by taking advantage of it. The young man is at the Nara bank branch and his number is 36. The bank employee asks whether to transfer the proceeds of the sale, including the wolf skin, to the customer's account. 27,001. The guy asks about the possibility of transferring to another account. Young says he has more items to realize. The bank teller names the total amount for all items sold, including the Geiger counter membrane. Her face reads surprise and confusion. A colleague nearby is also amazed that she's looking for a supervisor while a customer waits. Meanwhile, the bank manager is leisurely making tea. Smiling, he asks the young man how his tea is. A guy sits in his office and takes a sip, noting that the water is cold because he forgot to boil it. The manager asks why he has come. The young man answers. He wants to exchange items for money. He is offered more profitable ways to invest. The banker explains why it is worth investing, pointing out the benefits. The young man is hesitant, believing that his modest $1,000,000 is not worth such an investment. The manager assures me that he is underestimating the real value of the items brought in. It turns out the items are worth 230 million won. The guy's dumbfounded. The young man summons the goblin, who immediately returns 10% of the debt. He calls him a nice little bastard, then admits that the goblin isn't that ugly. He calls for him again in town, and passers-by immediately take notice. When the guy dies, the goblin disappears. The elven woman notices the goblin and offers an opinion on his unrepresentable appearance. A man in a brown jacket mockingly tells those around him that he is not a goblin at all. A small green goblin kicks the leg of a giant in armor. The goblin with the long tongue makes a strange sound, perplexed. The red-haired thug is annoyed. He doesn't understand what a goblin is even doing in the city. Several people are discussing Patton, the annihilator of the Everton Guild. One asks if he is famous, another replies that Patton gave himself that nickname. The guy with the dark hair looks scared, saying that this is a no-good thing. The young man is certain. The one who calls himself Annihilator is definitely not in his right mind. The red-haired Patton strikes the green creature with a swinging blow. The goblin launches a boulder at him with incredible power, the numbers 9999999 flashing on the screen. Patton is bloodied and screaming in pain. PK mode is activated. The screen shows the body of the dead Patton, with the goblin standing next to him. There's a crowd gathered around. The young man is horrified to realize that his summoned monster has killed a man, and now fears it will be revealed. The blue-haired man is amazed that even Patton, the formidable annihilator, fell at the hand of a goblin. He notices that although the goblin looks like a joke, the young man has interfered in the affairs of the guild and must answer for it. The names and levels of the guild members are displayed. The boy is worried that things have gone too far. He's sure his goblin won't lose, but now there's a lot more at stake, because we're talking about murder. One of the men wants to deal with the goblin himself, but the rest of the guild gets in the way. The young man notes how ridiculous it is, an entire guild attacking a single goblin. The goblin throws a rock. Minsung, known as the Master of Speed, is killed by a goblin strike. The young man was furious at how things had turned out. He was sure his high-level goblin could handle it without difficulty. An elderly man shouts, pointing somewhere in the distance. He peeks out from behind the door and asks indignantly, "Who are you anyway?" The guy replies on the run that he has no time to explain and tells him to hurry up. A young man rushes down the street, leaving the building. Sungryul, a level 26 warrior, shouts after him, "You told me to go the other way." Sungryul, a level 26 warrior, shouts after him, saying, "You told me to go the other way." While running, a notice appears in front of the guy. He gets 1 goblin point for cleverly tricking an opponent by weakening his defenses. The screen pops up again. Goblin point received. The guy is shocked. Was he seriously called cunning? Tears in his eyes, he recalls how he was first called weak and rude. And now, standing before the giant goblin on the throne, he is indignant, and now also cunning. He walks down the hall saying he's done nothing wrong. And adds, "What is it about me to be weak, rude, and conniving anyway?" A close-up of his face, determination blazing in his eyes. He recalls how he was just brought into the group and then betrayed and attacked for no reason. The boy addresses the goblin, claiming that they will no longer tolerate scorn. They will now take revenge on the Ethan Guild. Two goblins, one almost looking like a human, laugh with schadenfreude, declaring the destruction of the guild. A young man in dark clothes is chasing a girl with long blonde hair, moving across rooftops. Yoon-hyuk of the Darkness Guild declares that she alone is enough to handle him. A female archer and a male archer warn each other that the goblin is dangerous. Even Patton was destroyed in one blow. The hooded man screams in pain, swirls of dust rising around him. Sungryul Sly, with blue hair, is furious to see the old man fall. Close-up of his face, with a goblin hiding behind him. The black-clad man attacks, leaving a bright arc behind his sword. The goblin only laughs and points out, the damage is 0. The guy in the dark cloak is convinced. What he saw then was not a hallucination. A girl panics. She is attacked by a masked man with daggers. She is afraid that this is the end. A hooded man fights a green creature, his sword pulsing with green energy. The guy with the blue hair is shocked. His attack was blocked. The archer wonders why the man is just standing there, letting the goblin deliver the killing blow. A young man named Ji-hyun realizes that his opponent is a goblin. One is amazed. How can such a weak creature deal millions of damage? The goblin clutches a club in his hands. The cloaked man activates the extreme evil ability and prepares to attack. Ji-hung has the same skill activated. Speed drops by 90%, but all hits become crit. The woman is shocked that he used such a skill against a goblin. After all, it's a passive that gobbles half mana. Young man with blades in reverse grip. A description appears. Reverse grip, plus 30% damage, 50% crit. Replica below, after another. The girl with blonde hair says with fatigue, let's just get this over with already, before anyone sees. The archer activates wind arrows, explaining that she doesn't want to get caught while she uses all her combo power on the goblin. The guy in the hood is in a green aura. On the screen, skill wind arrows, removal of all slowdowns. Same guy is surrounded by an energy field. Caption: all hits are critical. Plus 30% damage, speed debuff removed, assassin's passive, plus 20% to critical damage, depends on movement speed. Replica below. Game over, goblin. The guy attacks the goblin and hieroglyphics pop up on the screen. Hood is stunned. Wait, this can't be... The goblin smiles ominously in a close-up. A girl with long blonde hair is shocked. The goblin is destroyed. The number on the screen is 999999. She screams. She can't believe what's happening. Who the hell is that? With one punch? Why didn't you just say you were maxed out? What was that? The red-haired girl slumps to the ground in utter shock. It can't be. This goblin is no ordinary monster. A guy in a suit stands next to a goblin who shows his tongue and laughs. Next to him is a defeated redhead. The guy declares with a satisfied smirk, "Yep, I'm the one who summoned him. Heh 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 heh." Yoon-hyuk stares in horror, unable to believe his eyes. How can a goblin be so strong? Yoon-hyuk of Darkness is one of the strongest in the Everton Guild. The guy whose face is contorted with a gloating smile says, "You wouldn't understand. The main thing is that I'm furious right now." Yoon-hyuk, seething with anger, shouts, "What have you done to us? Do you really not realize?" With an unnaturally wide grin, the guy yells, "It's your fault for being so damn pretty! Kya! You pervert!" The guy tries to justify himself by stammering, Wait, that's not what I meant to say. I mean, you attacked first. My nerves are already on edge. You're... Jewel. Is it hard? Kya! With slight irritation, he throws in, "Hey, someone's going to think something wrong if they see this. Goblin, shut her up." The goblin responds with a strange sound. Key. The woman turns to the others and asks in amazement, "Did you hear that?" The man points his finger sharply and shouts out, "Look! Are those the ones that were here before?" The young man is angry when he sees the crowd gathered. He curses quietly. Tsk, there's already a crowd. A green goblin holds a bound girl with blonde hair, clamping her mouth shut. She makes a muffled sound of protest. Ah! The goblin has destroyed the Everton Guild and now lashes out at the surviving woman. The crowd screams in horror, "Kaya! We're next!" The guy admits in despair, He just wanted revenge on Everton, and now he's stuck in a situation he can't get out of. He calls out to the goblin with a shout, ordering him to stop and let the girl go. The gathered people are amazed that a simple guy in ordinary equipment is confronting a monster that an entire guild couldn't handle. He just told the goblin to let her go? The woman sobs, the goblin glaring angrily at her. She struggles to let out a hoarse moan. The young man is on edge, his face contorted with tears and despair. He whispers faintly, "Stop." Covering his face with his hands, he bursts into tears. The crowd is watching the guy in utter confusion. One of them says, "Hey you, do you even know who you are?" A young man stands on a rooftop while people below shout, "Good luck! Crush him! We're with you!" He is stunned. Is he really being supported rather than ridiculed? Guy assumes that none of them know that he summoned the goblin himself. He declares that he will deal with the monster himself so that no one else gets hurt. Chunsu holds the woman and demands of the goblin, "Let her go!" He tells her it's over. He feels like a hero, risking his life to save hers. Smiling, Chunsu laughs. He just saved a girl from a goblin. But suddenly he changes in his face, threatening the woman with an agonizing death if she behaves like her friends. Frightened, she vows to keep quiet, both about the goblin and him. A close-up of Chunsu's face, he smiles and says, "Okay." He yells with rage at the goblin who attacked the village. With a face full of anger, he shouts out, "I'll keep my word." The summoner skill, Walk with a Goblin, is displayed. The green goblin is wearing a collar. Chunsu drags the resisting goblin by the chain. It growls, and the boy whispers furiously, "I won't forgive you." He continues to drag him, the goblin kicking and squealing. The guy yanks the chain sharply, and the goblin is tossed aside. He breathes heavily, still clutching the chain in his hand. The two watch this while discussing the power of the skill. The goblin continues to make noises. It is clarified that it is now completely helpless. The guy tensely pulls the monster further. It is explained that the goblin's mood is improved by the skill. The young man asks everyone to stay away. He can barely cope. The girl with blonde hair is surprised. The enemy's level exceeds 50. The two men were shocked. Such an enemy had no chance against any of Everton's men. The young man with dark hair, realizing he can't win, declares he can drive him away anyway. He uses the goblin feeding skill by throwing a sausage. The guy throws a punch and announces that this is the end. The goblin is thrown away screaming. The young man orders the gates of the city to be closed immediately. Goblin tries to force his way through but is stopped. The gate slams shut with a clatter right in front of him. The people around them look on in confusion and wonder if it's all over now. The young man, wiping away the sweat, says with relief, "That's it." He stands with his back to the cheering crowd who shout joyfully, "Hurrah!" He chased the goblins away. The guy stands silently with a tense face, thinking, "This at least solves the problem for a while. I almost became a nutcase who destroyed the entire guild after all." He is standing next to a woman with blonde hair. It is explained that all the other guild members died and were reborn in Pascal's sanctuary. She is the only one who knows of the connection between him and the goblin. The guy looks away thoughtfully, thinking about that particular woman from the past. She, looking at him, promises to keep her word. Inwardly, she notes that she can use this to her advantage. The woman explains that in Pascal, players have an infinite supply of HP and are protected from attacks. This is why the place is called the Sacred Lands. She asks if he'll keep his promise and then threatens, if he doesn't, she'll kill him over and over in the shrine, doing damage above infinity. That's her promise. Crying, she whispers, "No." Her face contorted with despair. The background is a sunset over the city and a flock of birds in the sky. There's a shriek, "Neat!" The guy is lying on the bed thinking, "This isn't what I wanted at all." He adds, "But it's nice to rest in a nice room, as a thank you for a good deed. I'm proud of myself." The young man looks away silently, thoughtful. He remembers the woman with gray hair and says quietly, "I didn't have the strength at that moment, but if I had, I would have saved her. She was hot." The man jumps up exclaiming that he had completely forgotten about the goblin score from the cursed goblin lord. A window with information appears on the screen. Zikim Cholsu's, class, Goblin Summoner. Goblin points, 1. He ponders that he chose this class after sensing something in common with goblins, and now gets points for being called cunning. If this keeps up, The goblins will start calling him brother once he collects all the points. He looks at the skill menu where most skills are locked and utters, skill store. Advanced abilities are unavailable, so he only has one option right now. The young man wonders what the gathering skill does. A message appears on the screen. You have used the goblin skill gathering. A goblin appears. A goblin suddenly pops out of the screen. The guy freaks out and shouts a swear word. He watches in horror as the little green goblin literally walks out of his body, realizing that this is the summoning skill. The innkeeper worriedly asks if he's okay and advises him to get out if he doesn't want to die. The guy yells at the goblin to stop and apologizes for his earlier behavior. The camera shows a room with a view of the moon. The text explains that a young man has been insulted and attacked for no reason. The young man lies in bed next to the goblin. It is as if they are a reflection of each other. He sleeps next to a goblin, and the inscription reads, "This world." A tavern sign with a picture of a mug on it, it says, "Welcome." Inside the tavern, they are discussing the guy who saved one of the Everton Guild members. Among those talking is a large man with red hair. The young man sits in the tavern and feels awkward without his goblin. The hooded man thanks him for his help, but the young man asks him to stop thanking him with that look on his face. The blonde woman says that the goblin is not around right now, and the young man is a victim of deception. There is nothing to fear. A man with short dark hair confirms her words and explains that he helped them, even though he was almost killed, because he had a reason. The hooded youth replies that they are now indebted to him, and the Everton Guild does not forget such deeds. They will help in any way they can. A guy with short dark hair complains that there is too little experience in the starting area. His level is over 30 and he wants to move on. He asks if they know how to do it. A hooded man with gray hair asks if this is Fiorendel. He claims to know how to get there. The old man confirms that he knows the way to Fiorendel. Standing next to him is Seongryul, a young man with short hair, level 26. The text hints that he is the one who knows the way. One man apologizes to an elderly man. The old man remarks to himself that the young man is really strong if he could handle a goblin alone. Patton, a level 28 red-haired man, agrees grimly. The young man might even be stronger than them. The young man tensely thinks, of course not. He ponders that if that guy had attacked yesterday, he would have died at first strike, as promised. Two men can be seen in the background. The description of the beginner's zone is Elev. It includes 5 regular dungeons. A mountainous area and the entrance to a dungeon are shown. A mine, dark forest, and other areas are mentioned. A dark forest is demonstrated. It is specified that these dungeons are available at any time. They are called open locations. To leave the LEV, you must complete a raid dungeon. The young man asks the man about the raid zone boss. Text explains. Unlike normal dungeons, raid dungeons are limited in time and number of attempts. A red portal is shown. A large hooded guy stands in front of a young man. It is explained that they have gathered to go on a raid. The young man is tense. He realizes their presence means. The muscular hooded man declares that the dungeon only opened yesterday, but some damn goblin messed it up. The annoyed player says he's now stuck until the next raid, which is a whole month. He tells how he earned over 200,000 gold by killing the boss, but the goblin managed to spend it all quickly. Now he has to waste his time. He yells that a month is too long, there must be another way. The hooded girl confirms, everyone is angry because time is wasted. The hand touches some object. It is reported that the debt is paid. The guy says it's time to go back and the hooded group follows him. He walks next to a blonde girl who looks depressed. The girl runs and he leisurely follows. The whole group walks off into the darkness. Somewhere nearby, a green goblin is hiding behind a wooden crate, giggling. A close-up of his sinister grin is shown. The goblin opens his mouth in amazement, sticking out his tongue, his face reflecting utter bewilderment. A night landscape spreads over the forest, stars twinkling above the dark trees. In the thick of the forest, a huge scarlet portal suddenly opens with the inscription, System, Boss Raid Opened. 2 men in uniform are discussing the situation. One of them, the red-haired one, is angry. The raid started earlier than planned. The blue-haired hooded man stares earnestly into the distance, contemplating the approaching raid on the boss. A blue system message flashes on the ground. System, Boss Raid Opened. The young man with dark hair looks tense and surprised. Patton, a red-haired man, realizes with anger and shock on his face that the raid has indeed begun. A group of adventurers, a swordsman, an archer, a musician, and a hooded man stand before a giant scarlet portal. The caption reads, "In just one day, a boss raid?" A hooded young man and an elderly man are discussing the situation. The old man says that no one has gone through the raid in a day yet. Everyone who was ready had already finished it yesterday. The boy looks away thoughtfully. They were the only ones left who dared to enter. With a sinister smile, the boy whispers, "I knew it." The angry young man stands in front of someone's giant feet, berating his comrades for cheating him. Because of them, he had to wait a whole month. A close-up of his face, he cries out his naivety in believing those who betrayed him. The blonde girl tries to object. "He got it all wrong, this time it will be different." Two hoodlums are discussing starting a raid. One suggests going, the other agrees, not wanting to miss out on the rewards. The guy with the blue hair is going to lay out the plan before they start. An image of a portal appears. The caption explains, "The raid consists of one room. The boss will meet them immediately. You need to be ready." Archer Jean, level 27, and warrior Sung Rayul, level 26, are discussing the fight. He thinks the damage will be low, but it's worth being careful. Python, level 28, declares that even though there is no chapter, the entire Everton guild is in and will handle the boss. Everton launches an attack, the boys scream, caving in the blows. Close-up of the hooded guy's face, expression focused and grim. Everton's group, including the girl in the dress, follows him to the portal. He commands, "Go, Everton!" Guy warns the Goblin to keep their alliance a secret, and not to show his face until he gives the signal. The Goblin responds quietly. The young man remembers how he was betrayed and vows to be on his guard. He tries to keep his cool. A man studies a healing stone that restores 100 HP at 0. He is surprised to still be wearing it. Guy opens a portal using magic, says, "Anyway, now." He stands in front of a huge scarlet portal. The text reads, "This is the boss." With a tense face, he utters, "Raid." He watches as the group fights a creature named Demolition, level 40, and exclaims, "What the? This is a hidden dungeon." A message appears on the screen, "Hidden dungeon, dismantling apartment." The old man argues with Shung Ryul, resenting that someone ruined the team's spirit. Kim Cheol-soo shouts, "Don't just stand there, run to the portal." He grins, "Are you serious now?" He yells furiously, "You want to run away right before the entrance to a hidden dungeon? Do you even know what the rewards are?" One of the players notices that the monster is level 40, and one hit can seriously hurt even in reality. The young man parries, "It's only 10 levels difference, they're not going to give up." He says there's nothing to be afraid of. At most, a little blood and unconsciousness. The real rewards are in places like this. Patton and the blonde girl battle another player, arguing over who gets all the rewards. The black-haired guy uses the Goblin summoning skill. A green goblin with a long nose appears, laughing under the night sky. The same goblin raises his head, perplexed. "Keek?" A giant mechanical monster attacks a black-haired guy. The guy yells, demanding that the goblin show up. A dead red-haired man lies on the ground. Signed, it's Zayesward Cheol-soo. Someone notices. It's the one who fought the goblin yesterday. The hooded man says indifferently that he doesn't care what has become of him. He cares about other things. He reports that the portal has closed. The other is shocked. "What did you say?" Explanation. Usually portals stay open longer. The old man with the beard explains. Hidden dungeons can appear during monthly raids. Players are caught off guard by an unexpected boss, the dismantler, level 40, and they have to fight. A young man puts on a VR helmet. He instantly loses the fight despite being level 31. The stats show it. He didn't distribute characterization points. After his death, he realizes that the portal is closed. He cannot summon a goblin and loses the opportunity to get valuable trophies. Everton appears on the scene and the monster hunt begins. A young man bleeding to death lying on the ground. Archer girl activates the wind arrow skill. Yoonhyuk the dark and Ainsun the quick, Everton's fastest fighters must find the enemy's weak spot. The old man suggests a strategy. With acceleration from Jihyun, strike at the weak spot before the enemy has time to react. Two hooded fighters attack a huge mech in a dingy hall. A close-up of the monster's head, it growls, "Kwa!" The guy in the hood uses an energy attack against another player. The plan of attack is shown. 32 strikes in a row. Minsung and the other guy discuss why their attacks didn't do any damage. Minsung, hooded and with blue hair, ponders. Either the enemy's defense is too high, or there's another reason. The monster lets out a growl and prepares to attack. He drops a punch on the hooded guy. The young man activates the skill Peerless Sword, dealing 1800 damage. Min Sung explains, weak attacks are useless here. Demolition Man, a level 7 giant robot, is shown. It has 28,200 of 3,000 HP and a Contempt for Weaklings passive that ignores blows that deal less than 5% of maximum health. Yoonhyuk Dark, a red-haired warrior with a huge sword, is considered the only one who can break through such a boss. The old man notes, depending on the situation, the hardest blow could also come from someone else. Archer Ji-hyun Deadly, level 27, prepares the death shot skill, sacrificing health for a boost. She is afraid of drawing attention to herself. Patton is surprised to learn who Ji-hyun is and says he'll help her. It activates the battle cry, attracting the monster's attention. A red-haired man provokes the monster, triggering its fury. The girl lies on the ground, confused and afraid. She doesn't understand why he doesn't run, but instead attracts the attention of the monster. The robot boss takes a powerful hit and begins to disintegrate. Seeing that the level of the hidden dungeon boss is 1038, the red-haired warrior admits with a satisfied smile, not bad. Guy warns Patton, aka the fighter, to follow the plan strictly. There can be no mistakes. Seung-rul Strategist activates the pain distribution skill by contacting Patton in combat. The young man reflects on his low level and lack of unique class. The Assassination Squad, Minsu, Suji, Hyunhyuk, and Minsung, use the passive skill Life Force Break to lower the enemy's defense. The Archer girl is amazed. They call the boss the Guild. That's how powerful he is. One of the watchers is nervous. He's afraid the fighters will kill the boss before his turn. Patton gets into a fight with a giant monster. He is suddenly confused. The monster ignores him and attacks another player. The boss's blow shakes the ground, leaving a crater. The young man applies a resurrection stone that restores 100 HP from 0 and says that as a top-ranked player, it only helps once. A close-up of his face is shown with the caption, "The main characters always appear later." The dismantler is targeting Kim Cholsu. The boss activates Earthquake. As a result, Minsu, Suji, Hyunsu, and Minseong are killed. Guy is furious. The boss has been revived again. A hooded man gets hit by an unknown enemy. A red-haired warrior stands with a sword over 2 defeated fighters. His face is contorted with anger. He is furious at the loss of his comrades. The old man with the hammer is panicking, afraid of losing concentration. Patton activates the Giga Strike and delivers a powerful blow to the mech. The damage displayed is 3890 damage. The old man takes some of the damage due to pain distribution and notes with satisfaction that the plan is working. The young man reads the message with horror. Patton the Slayer and Seung-rul the Intriguer are dead. He whispers, "What am I?" He makes excuses. It's not his fault. He just saved someone. A hooded man with 2 sickles prepares to attack. He explains, monsters don't hit tanks first, but ranged or healers, which can change the course of the battle. The other man applies provocation, temporarily switching aggro to Patton. Hood notices that after the sudden resurrection, the monster has reset its aggression. Even the tank that held its attention has died. Ji-hyun, the archer, asks what she and Yoonhyuk should do. She hesitates whether to shoot now. The parameters of her skill, Death Shot, are shown. The strength depends on the spent HP. She has 46% left. The man in the hood is telling her to pack up. If he shoots now, it's all for naught. He says that the assassin's passive skill Deathstroke hasn't maxed out its stacks yet. The boss only has 3 of them. Even a perfect shot would be weak right now. The hooded youth soars into the air with his sword and shouts that he will distract the enemy, asking the others to keep up the skills. Someone's hand releases an energy beam. The text explains, if there is no critical shot now, there is no way to win. A girl with long blonde hair is aiming a bow that emits a green glow. A boy is standing next to her, asking how he can help. She snaps, "You can't do anything without the Goblin. Stay out of the way." The guy guiltily asks why they're looking at him like that. He just can't summon a goblin, can he? He looks up, mentally blaming the others. He's convinced it's all their fault, not his. And he adds, despite their weakness, they dare to treat him as nothing. A giant warrior appears in the hall, the Destroyer Man. He attacks Ji-hyun, the Deadly One. The hooded youth concludes that the enemy is prioritizing ranged targets. He pops out of hiding and declares that he is the enemy. From the turn, he strikes with his Peerless Sword, hitting an enemy named Shill, who has 1920 HP left. The commentary reads, risky, but Shill yelps furiously from the blow. The guy recoils, saying, not yet. Floating in the air, he ponders. This is how you get attention. He attacks again with the same move. Shill's HP is reduced to 1908. Guy follows up with a series of punches. A close-up of his determined face. He thrusts his sword into Shill. The screen reads, "He's targeting whoever does the most damage." The guy says, "It wasn't until after 3 hard blows that you finally realized I was dangerous." Meanwhile, a giant robot targets Yoonhyuk Dark. Enemy displayed. Demolition Man, level 40, HP 22,460 out of 30,000. He's only been hit 3 times, but that should be enough. The hooded guy is angry. He knows he only has to buy time now. The skill Quick Evasion is shown. 3 seconds of complete invulnerability to physical attacks. The guy says, "These 3 seconds are mine." The hooded young man's face is distorted. A message appears on the screen. "Not enough MP." He utters in shock, "What?" The next moment, Demolition Man strikes and the guy screams in pain. A young man with short black hair looks on anxiously and worriedly. A young man named Yoonhyu lies unmoving. A message confirms his death. Someone nearby utters a stunned expression. "You..." The guy with short hair angrily shouts accusations, holding the others responsible for the defeat and the fact that they couldn't win. A woman with long blonde hair angrily replies that she shouldn't have resurrected Yoonhyu. That's what caused everything to go wrong. They argue. She's sure she could have finished off her enemy if she'd had a little more time, but the young man objects. He would never have let that happen, after all. They were supposed to share the reward. The entire field of the frame is filled with the sinister face of a monster with scarlet eyes and a creepy grin. The young man and girl froze with faces contorted with horror, their mouths open in a scream. "Huh?" A giant mechanical monster attacks a young boy and girl. The screen displays, "Destroyer Man targets deadly Jihoon." The blonde archer pulling the bowstring taut says through gritted teeth, "Kuh, this is no time for fighting. It's not fully loaded, but I need to shoot." The young man watches her actions, asking in surprise, "What are you doing?" He smirks. "You can't move while you're charging, can you?" The girl screams with terror in her voice. "What? What are you doing?" Her face contorted with fear and tears, she begs, "Don't come any closer." She releases an arrow, but the guy intercepts it, saying, "Didn't you say we only need 10 seconds to win?" The girl runs away from the monster, and the monster chortles, "Weh-heh-heh-heh-heh-heh." Her eyes widen with shock. She whispers, "It can't be. He moves as fast as Yoonhyuk Dark." The guy with black hair shows his status. Level 31, class, Goblin Summoner, and says, "I put all the characteristics into agility. Even an assassin wouldn't go that far." Then adds, "I'm not an assassin, but I'm pretty good with speed." He says he got 1 goblin point after an argument and is outraged. Don't they give points for dirty deeds? Ironically, the Goblin Lord is right and I'm wrong. The girl with the bow announces that she is ready. The guy yells, "Then shoot already!" She retorts, "Don't rush me. You think aiming at this speed is easy?" She tenses. "If this shot misses, it's over." Then adds, "Don't say that. I have something I need to finish." She clings to the guy, bloodied, and utters, "I coughed up blood when I died, and that healing stone is worth 100 times more." The robot spins around, letting out a wild roar. "Quah!" He attacks, snarling again, "Kuah!" A girl flying through the air shoots at a robot. The screen reads, "Archer Shield, a deadly disposable bow." The guy yells, "Finish it!" The enemy's HP appears. One of the fighters uses the Heaven-Earth Shatter skill with a battle cry. There is a massive explosion from the impact. The guy is stunned by the surprise attack. He realizes that the enemy has used a roundhouse kick, and he himself is threatened. The girl shoots, but there are too many arrows. The target moves away. She realizes she can't hit it exactly right. She states that she has another plan. The guy watches her, bright memories popping up in his mind. A huge goblin bursts out of the wall with a sinister laugh. The boy angrily questions why the goblin only showed up now. The archer is stunned. Someone is breaking through the borders of the dungeon. She can't believe her eyes. A secret technique is used, debris from the wall flying around. The green goblin activates the goblin shield block skill, reflecting the attack. A powerful enemy with a golden glow around its body let out a battle roar. The guy notes with a chuckle, "Dying loudly. Yeah, well, hidden boss." With goblin in hand, he prepares for the final blow, the archer standing behind him. "The climax," he says. The girl fires a fully loaded lethal shot. The damage is enormous. A giant stone golem, presumably the boss, begins to collapse. He falls, and 2, a girl and a young man stand on his wreckage. A message appears on the screen. You have passed the hidden dungeon, Destroyer's Quarters. Ji-hyun, the deadly archer, is happy to report a victory and level up. Zim Kulsuz, the goblin summoner, is also leveling up, the tense posture indicating that this was not given easily. One of the fighters impatiently demands his reward for completing the dungeon. The hooded guy asks if everyone is unharmed after the automatic resurrection of the fallen. He notices the blood in his mouth, but is glad. The dungeon wasn't so difficult. Old man Sungryul, the warrior, is not breathing. This is alarming. A hooded young man with a cold-blooded look is preparing something. Zim Chulsu's annoyed, demands to step back. Ji-hyun and another character watch. The archer girl doesn't understand why he's acting so strange. Zim raises the level again and falls to the ground. The interface is displayed with its new level, 34. The guy with the glasses is yelling, demanding his reward. The message, "You have not met the condition for the hidden class," appears. The girl with white hair is upset because she didn't get a hidden class either. The archer girl fires an arrow at an enemy, but the damage dealt is not enough to gain a hidden class. Skim Chulsus thoughtfully notes that special conditions must be met in order to advance in class in a hidden dungeon. It is clarified that even without defeating the final boss, you can activate the progression, but only if specific requirements are met. Skim ponders the hidden class, but decides to put those thoughts aside for later. The young man is shocked at the sudden reward. A goblin is standing nearby, sharing the surprise. The archer asks to take her time in distributing the trophies, suggesting that she discuss it with everyone in the group first. A young man with a face distorted from exertion holds a bow, from which a powerful stream of energy bursts out. He shouts, "Shah!" and "Eek!" Behind stands a man in a cloak and an archer holding a young man's hand. Above him is the text, "He's been like this ever since. Who is he? Gollum!" The young man blurts out, "My president!" Below him is the caption, "This is adorable." A man with blue hair and another man stand behind him. The message is read, "The boss of the ride is now ready to be killed. We have helped you 2 times. We don't want to grave away another reward." The young man walks forward with fury, stomping hard, destroying the ground beneath his feet. A man in black stands next to him and an old man. The caption reads, "Son of Singari, cunning activated cunning." He says, "I told you not to start this, Yunhyuk of Darkness. You're the son of a bitch." The young man with a face full of rage screams, "To hell with you! I knew you would do this. Betrayed me not once, but twice?" A man with blue hair among others declares, "Killing you now isn't even a problem. If we wanted to, we would have done it already. You can take the rewards." There are rocks and a bow on the ground. Captions, "Crushed steel X3, highly refined steel X1, unique item, Iron Giant's giant bow. But that bow, it's not unique?" The young man looks at the bow in shock. "What is it? You're not even an archer. What are you going to do with it? Make a fire?" With annoyance, he says, "Damn, I know! Iron Giant's giant bow, not tradable, for archers only. You can't sell unique items. And you can't use it if you're the wrong class." Despite all this, he claims he wants to keep the item because everyone else already has it. One of the participants agrees to give up the weapon, but asks for something in return. The hooded man explains that the item is not for trade and therefore priceless. The young man with the weapon in his hand laughs and says that if anyone loses an item because of him, it's his own fault. The old man is shocked, realizing that everything the guy went through came down to trying to sell a valuable item. The young man bursts into laughter, remembering the nasty goblin from the past. The little goblin is hiding, as they are now officially on the same team. A girl with long blonde hair puts on a belt. Ji-hyun, the archer, receives a unique item, the Iron Giant's great bow. It cannot be exchanged. The man thanks Everton for the exchange and adds that the man is a master at causing self-loathing. The hooded young man asks where he will go after his escape, to which he hears, "Someplace where you won't be." The guy replies snidely, "Well, it's pretty obvious, you're a pervert." A group of 5 people, including a guy in a hoodie, are getting ready to leave. One of them asks, "Shall we go?" The blonde girl seemed to be from the Everton Guild. A goblin suddenly attacks a guy named Zikim Chulsus. The guy replies, "It's just a goblin." The text reads, "They successfully passed a stealthy boss raid." The guy regrets the loss of his unique bow, but he got something better in return, the thief's glove. This glove allows him to steal any item if the target's level is lower. He says that he was a miner before that, and other players didn't appreciate high-quality steel. He scoffs at other people's stupidity. He now has both steel and several other valuable resources. He says he's been betrayed. The city of Fiorendel and the Phoenix Guild of El Basar are shown. The young man is stunned by the number of high-level players and their equipment. He wonders how much they make. One of the men remarks, "It smells like money in here." The young man plans to change his gear, even though he recently fought a monster 9 levels down. He considers his tattered armor. It even has negative defense. The guy encounters a small goblin who makes strange noises. He threatens the goblin. If he causes trouble in the village, there will be consequences. At that moment, both of them are attacked by a giant beast. The guy is shocked by the appearance of the boss monster and asks the goblin to protect him. A female mage named Irene notices him and is surprised by the summoning of such a goblin. Irene, level 76, asks, "Is this your monster?" The boy wondered in confusion. Does anyone even ride such huge creatures? Is that a summoning too? The guy notices that Michelle is usually docile in the village, but now she's drooling a lot. There is a girl sitting on a huge cat. He notes to himself that the girl is incredibly strong, and he doesn't even need to engage her in combat to realize that. Even the Everton Guild, according to him, is unable to resist her. On the screen is the silhouette of an elven woman. Sitting on a giant cat, a girl with long blonde hair calls the young man a cute kid and asks him to introduce himself. He points to the green goblin next to him. "You mean that kid?" The goblin makes a sound. The young man remembers that she called him Goblin. She asks if he gave the goblin a name. The young man says he doesn't understand why he would give names to summoned monsters and scolds the goblin, who makes a squeaking noise. The girl comments that one-sided relationships are unstable. A large white cat is seen. The man explains that the goblin has taken a fighting stance after the command, "Protect me." People are watching. The white-haired elf tells the young man that she hopes he won't be so boring next time. The guy leaves with the goblin, thanking him for his advice, adding that he didn't need that guy. The old man looks on in amazement and utters, "Your equipment." A rude man calls the young man's outfit garbage. He replies that he has come for the best. The seller offers a steel breastplate for 350 gold pieces, about $40. Guy's reasoning: even with a strong summoning, if he dies, he'll die. Armor is needed. He clicks the buy button. Humphrey's salesman swears, says he made the bib out of stainless steel. The guy tries on the armor and notes that it looks stylish. But the armor proves to be too heavy. His strength won't allow him to wear it. He complains, "All the points went into dexterity for the fight with the Iron Giant. Now I have to sell." The blacksmith refuses to buy expensive armor for pennies. The guy is upset. He's been tricked by NPCs again. A bright exclamation point flashes above the blacksmith. The guy asks about the sign, but the blacksmith doesn't see it. Humphrey is irritably looking for something and swearing. He discovers he has lost his hammer and cannot work without it. The blacksmith explains that his hammer was left in the dungeon at the entrance to the village. The quest window Humphrey's problem appears. Find a sledgehammer. The reward is the ability to process materials for armor. The guy guesses that the sign was because of the quest. Now he'll be able to make armor from his materials. He wonders, wait a minute, and realizes, so that's why materials from the hidden boss are so expensive? He further ponders. So, if I melt them down? The screen shows 3 pieces of crushed steel and 1 piece of high-purity steel. He tensely clarifies, underground waterway, huh? On screen, Humphrey's problem, assignment accepted. The man in glasses, with a contemptuous smile, says, "I don't need anyone. The group is a burden." A goblin stands next to him. He continues, "So that's what it means." He snorts, "I can get through this easy dungeon in less than half an hour," and yells to the goblin, "What are you standing there for, you idiot?" The guy looks away, clearly thinking about it. A window appears, job condition. A rough-looking man shouting, "Fetch my hammer now!" Above him is a sign that says, NPC, Humphrey the Hardened Warrior. At the bottom, the quest will fail if Humphrey dies. The man with the hammer yells irritably, "Why the hell are you still following me around?" You want part 2? Write the secret word, Goblin, in the comments. That way I'll know you've watched to the end and want to see what happens next. Don't forget to subscribe and like and subscribe to the channel. See you later and bye-bye.